This week's videos are sponsored by Acorns, the money app that makes it simple and cheap to make small yet significant investments.
What is happening there, citizens of the Reject Nation? Welcome to the Real Rejects podcast today. I'm so excited because Coy couldn't make it today. And then I asked this one individual, first person we thought of, Roxy, to join. We got Roxy Striar here. Roxy, who does all of our social media. She watches every single one of these episodes. This will be episode number 17 or 18, I believe.
Whoa.
It's only, once we're at 22, that is past the average podcast does not make it to 22 episodes. So I'm like, once we get to 22, past 22, I'm like, sky's the limit. That's just how I operate. Beat the average.
If you could only have one thing, what would it be? Abs or make it to past 22 episodes on the podcast?
22 episodes in the podcast.
He cares about something more than his abs.
Yeah. Oh, if the camera wasn't rolling, I would say abs.
Just checking.
Yeah. We don't want to lie to the people here. So yeah, we got some things to talk about. I have the list here. Fantastic Four test screening apparently happened, coming on the day of Empire Magazine, revealing a tiny bit more information. The big thing going around all week is the Hulk is reportedly, everyone's talking about it, might be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Chris Hemsworth made a rather interesting statement that is having people be quite curious. Harry Potter casting. And there's a couple questions about Last of Us that if we have time, we will get to it. But before any of that, I wanted to really do something special.
Oh, no.
Sunday, not about you, Roxy.
Oh.
Sunday, I am going to be at Love Always Sanctuary, which is the sanctuary that we contribute to, rescue animals. And they're also going to be hosting the vegan exchange. So there's going to be like 16 different vegan trucks there, so you could have vegan food and you can hang out with the animals. Now, to go see the animals is $15 a ticket, but if you happen to go, based off of me recommend, like I saw Greg on YouTube or on social media say this, I will cover your ticket. So if you want to go, if you want to meet up, I'll probably be there from 2 o'clock to 6. Roxy would love to go. And we're at 2 to 6. John, you can go. Any of the rejects are welcome to come.
What's the event?
No, it's just the vegan exchange, which is...
I don't know what that...
The vegan exchange
exchanging vegan products?
No, they call it the vegan exchange, but it's just a bunch of different types of vegan taco trucks. So not taco trucks, but vegan trucks. So you got all different types of cultures and ethnicities, types of food. And like there's African food, there's Mediterranean, there's donuts, there's burgers, there's a whole bunch. And and then the next to it is the barn where you can go see like the donkeys, the goats, the pony, the chickens, whatever it may be. It all goes to help support the animals. So if you want to come say hi. But let's get into the actual news now. Mm-hmm. We got chapters here if you want to skip around. I feel like the first one that we should do is the one that's been taken off on social media as of today. The Fantastic Four, they had a test screening last night. And apparently it's a little bit mixed, which is, I think, kind of common with test screenings. I don't really follow test screening reports. It's kind of interesting that they be doing a test screening so close to the release date. It's only like a month and a half till it's out, right? Mm-hmm. Is that normal? Do you know if that's normal?
Yeah, I think that happens all the time. There were probably test screenings for the last several months. And I know that usually when you're doing early on screenings, like what you're trying to get is above a 70% approval rate from the audiences. And if not, you might go back and do reshoots. You might re-edit things. You might beef up certain characters or whatever. But this kind of a test screening, I don't think as much is for them to change the edit. It's more to know what to expect from how fans are going to feel. I mean, I'm sure that they could make some minor tweaks if there was issues with like coloring or anything that is in post, but I don't think that you do test screening a month and a half before so that you can be like, oh, yeah, let's go back and reshoot something.
I hear a lot of movies don't get a fully finalized package until like the week before. Even Tom Cruise was saying that with Mission Impossible.
For sure, that definitely does happen. And even with... was it Thunderbolts? They said that they shot something. I don't want to give anything away to you because you haven't seen it yet, but I think that they ended up shooting something like 1 week or 2 weeks prior to.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it was that movie. I'd have to go back and look, but that kind of stuff does happen if there's something glaring, or you were waiting for that so you don't want spoilers or something like that. But I think this test screening is more to let the studio know how many press screenings should we have for the critics? How far in advance should the embargo be dropped? What kind of promotion should we be doing? How much more money should we be putting into marketing for this? Is this going to do well? Do we need to be inviting more influencers? Is this performing better with the younger audiences or the older audience, like to understand demo and stuff? That would be my understanding of why a studio a month and a half before would be doing a screening. I don't know that I trust that, because we all the time hear that test screenings have gone swimmingly, and then you see the movie and it's not good, or that the test screening was going really poorly and you expect the movie to not do well, and then you go see it and it's great. So they're not always accurate.
Yeah. I've been to, I think the only, we're going to go into some of these reactions. They're very brief. But John and I went to see Funny People. You remember that movie? Adam Sandler, Seth Rogen? We saw Funny People, a test screening of that, and it was amazing. It was hilarious.
That must have been when you guys were more close to starting out.
We hadn't even started the channel. But yeah, it was insanely funny. And then we went to a second test screening, and it was so different. It was so dark and so dramatic.
Do you remember how far in advance of the movie being released you were at the first one versus the second?
It was like 6 months.
Okay.
And then
so they still had time to make those changes.
Then we saw it a couple months before, and then the final product was a hybrid of both the dark version and the funny version. But yeah, one was like really dramatic.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, but I love that movie. I personally love it.
That sucks that it went from you loved it to being like, what the hell, to being a little bit strange.
Do you remember that the second time we saw it, how like serious it was, and it was like, wow, no one's laughing. This is really dramatic.
The movie left a huge impact, because I remember it being, he said he wanted to make a movie like twice as serious and 3 times as funny, and that first cut really lived up to it, and it was like, wow, I really glimpsed something unique and beautiful. And then, we saw the second one. I was like, I just saw something weird and angry.
Yeah, it's really weird.
And then you saw the theatrical cut, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, I guess they did
kind of split the difference.
Yeah.
Is your favorite version the first version that you guys saw?
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't remember it well enough, but the feeling I remember. But with Fantastic Four, I feel like this is common. It's mixed. Now I know that we could rage bait if we wanted to, but I'm not in the mood.
You're never in the mood.
Most viewers found it just okay.
How am I going to get social media clip outs when you're never angry or in the mood to rage bait? Gosh.
Well, we can do it.
No, tell me what they said. Tell me the truth.
Most viewers found it just okay. Only a few called it great. The common consensus, Galactus, the devourer of planets, stood out as the highlight. Apparently every scene featuring him is truly epic. And even Matt Shackman, he talked about in Empire today that their goal with Galactus was to make like a humongous 14 billion year old planet devouring cosmic vampire. And apparently that really hits. And they find him to be terrifying. Best part of the movies ripped from the comics. This part stood out really interesting to me, which I love to hear. And it's weird because I didn't actually get the vibe in the trailer, is that it feels more Lovecraftian, which is like cosmic horror, which from diving into some of the Jack Kirby comics, I'm like, yeah, I could actually see how you can adapt it. And then other Fantastic Four random comics that I've read, I can see how you can amp up the horror. And I didn't really get the sense of that in the trailer.
At all.
But if they're doing that, any little horror tinge for me tends to crank it up a notch. And then the negatives that have come in, viewers felt the characters lacked development, and Reed's powers were underwhelming, and the Thing was barely used is the main thing. And a lot of this is subject to change. Like, this is one of those things where I would take with a grain of salt, honestly. Like, what are your first reactions when hearing something like this?
Those negatives seem to be what a lot of people's negatives were about the trailer.
Those were my concerns. Yeah,
Those were people's concerns. So I thought it was really interesting to just hear you say that people thought this was kind of Lovecraftian, because I did not get that at all from the trailer.
Me neither. Yeah.
And if it is, I wonder why they wouldn't want to include that, why they wouldn't want to prep people for that, because while that would totally work for me as well, and work for you, I feel like it is a unique choice, and especially in a summer that is maybe the biggest movie summer we've ever had, ever. The July is like one of the biggest months for movies ever. You really want to make yourself stand out.
Yeah.
Because there's another tiny little superhero movie that's coming out that month. And I think that would be really cool to include that in the trailer. So I'm curious why they didn't. And then people's concerns, if you're lacking character development, you are in a similar camp to all of the previous Fantastic Four movies. And that seems to be the major issue that Fantastic Four have when being developed for the big screen. So that would be crazy if that's the thing you didn't address. Like if this movie could do one thing right, it would be getting the character development right, because we now are requiring this core four to the Fantastic Four to be a huge part of the MCU moving forward. So if it's lacking character development, it's like, wait, what? That's the main thing you guys had to nail.
Exactly. It's the one thing you had to get down. The chemistry is that was the thing I've been seeing in the trailers. And here's the reality. I don't want to be right about it because I have a concern that I'm expressing in a trailer reaction. Doesn't mean I want it to come true. I'd rather the first reception be actually, one of the saving graces is like, I would rather take underwhelming villain, but the core cast better. So it's weird to see like a flip, like the villain who's barely in the trailer is really effective, but not to highlight the cast. And, the other thing that I would take with a grain of salt is a lot of times scoopers come in and they're looking for like, what did people say from test screenings? And to get engagement, a lot of the times they're going to mainly focus on the negative part. They want things to come across a little dramatic. I'm not saying that's what it is.
But that is true. What you're saying
sometimes
is
they
true.
do that because it does raise engagement and it's just something to be cautious of. But I also think with the Lovecraftian side, if that is an actual element that they're including, I could see how that could sway people away, especially when they're wanting to be Marvel's first family and really lean into that. And horror does not really scream family vibes. But
Yeah.
it is the character part that I'm a little bit concerned about.
And you're also right to point out that the main pro is the villain, when I think that's interesting. People believe Marvel has a villain problem. I don't personally believe that. I feel like that was something that we felt during early phases of Marvel, but once the Thanos of it all happened, I don't think that Marvel's biggest issue has been their villains, but that is something you hear thrown around all the time, right? Marvel has a villain issue. So if they really focused on making sure they didn't have a villain problem here, that's cool, but it's not where the main focus needed to go.
Sure.
So I don't know. That would be shocking to me. That sounds like script issues, if nothing else. That doesn't sound like casting issues. It just sounds like a script problem if we're lacking development. Woof. And I really hope that's not true, because I'm really much so looking forward to this movie.
I'm rooting for it.
Yeah,
big
me
time.
too, of course.
Really rooting for it big time. And it is cool, though. I think the positive is the fact that everyone's highlighting Galactus. I watched Rise of the Silver Surfer as a reaction for this channel, and Galactus is a part of the community that they really hated in that film because he was this giant cloud and wasn't a real character. I was not as indoctrinated into Galactus knowledge at the time, so I wasn't bothered when I watched the movie. But it is cool to see that they're actually fulfilling what people would want from Galactus. So I think that's a positive. I think there's a massive positive here. But yeah,
You're
we'll
right.
just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. Are you worried, John?
A little.
That's what we want to hear.
How can you not be worried when you hear it's lacking character development? That's like that.
That's my main. I mean, you guys hit it on the head. That's the main thing you need to do.
But the question is like, who is this? Who are the people that spoke at the test screen? Like, you get a lot of people at a test screening, and it's like, who are the ones who are talking?
That's true.
You know?
And a lot of people use that and they don't even really know what they're saying. It's like how people all the time on the internet say it's poorly written. And then you're like, what does that mean to you, that it's poorly written? Like, you don't like the dialogue, you don't like the structure, you don't like the back and forth. What part is poorly written? When people say it lacks character development, maybe they're just, it's an overall statement that they didn't relate or connect to certain characters. I would have a hard time believing that they made this movie and none of our Fantastic Four have character development. That would be insane.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say is I think the thing you shouldn't do when hearing this is assume this is the way you will feel when watching this movie. A lot of the time people do. And I know what it's like to be influenced by opinions, but be selective about the opinions that you actually decide to listen to. And we don't know who these opinions are. It's just the only ones that we got right now.
I was going to say, hearing about test screenings isn't really, I'm already nervous. And like hearing about test screenings doesn't really actually affect that the same way when you see the social media tweets all come out. It doesn't really affect it either because I'm like, it's just pre opinions, and I'm not going to know until we're all there at the theater dissecting it.
1000%. But what do you guys think in the comments? Engage with us. Does it make you hate it? Are you going to hate this movie? Why'd they use Shalabal and not Norman? Norman. I always want to call
Norman Bates. Why?
I always want to call Silver Surfer Norman Reedus, and I. What is it?
That's hysterical.
Why can I never pull his name?
Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. Yeah.
Norman. It would have been an all right Silver Surfer.
It's the crossover of the century.
It would have been an all right one.
I'm with you.
Norrin Rad.
Norrin Rad. Damn, I can never. I can remember Shalabal, but I can't
remember
Norman
Reedus. You had it right the first time.
Leave your thoughts down below, guys. Leave your thoughts down below. All right, Roxy.
Yeah.
So we might as well like stack this all with the Marvel stuff first.
Yeah, you know I'm a big Marvel girl.
Yeah, man. No, I'd like to get your perspective. I think everything you just said was actually pretty awesome, and I like getting a different type of conversation.
No, I love Marvel. I've watched every Marvel show, except for What If. So I don't watch some of the animated stuff, but every live action movie and every live action show, I love the Marvel stuff. But I'm a DC girly. Everybody knows it.
Oh, well, way to make our viewership drop.
No, I think so it makes me more of a casual fan. Some people can relate to that. You know, you might have a little edge on me with Marvel.
I refuse to see the positive in what you said.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right. The test screenings are in, and they say Roxy doesn't know anything.
You can never change my perspective. R.N. Pacheco is saying, with the rumors of the Hulk casting in with the rumors of the Hulk casting in brand new day.
What is happening?
It says BNW, so I got really confused.
Brave New World?
Yeah, that's not correct. It's brand new day. What do you hope to see from the Hulk in the movie if he's in it? And if you could, how would you all change the Hulk's narrative in the MCU after the first Avengers movie? Oh, that's a fun question. So the main rumor right now is the Hulk will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day, but we don't know to what capacity. A lot of people are saying could be a villain. A lot of people are saying it could be a team up, and some people just don't want it, and some people are really excited about it.
I'm saying both.
What do you mean by both?
I think villain then team up. I think it's going to be both.
What do you like what do you feel when you hear about the Hulk being in it? Does that excite you? Or are you like, no, I don't want that?
Yeah, no, I get excited about that. I like the Hulk. I think that this makes a lot of sense. I think that this is happening, and I would like to see first a scenario in which we are at odds, and then a scenario in which we are together. Especially as you guys discussed on the show, how we moved the dates of our two Avengers movies, and now this is taking place in between them. I do think that where we end up will put Hulk in a better position moving forward. And so I think that they very much so on purpose needed more time on those films, but also made this come before so that we could get Hulk to be doing something different when it came to the second Avengers movie.
Well, how do you feel that this news is out? Because if he's not in it now, is it such a big rumor to the point where if he's not in it, people will be disappointed? What do you think about that?
Certainly, Greg. I think that you made a really great point that people kind of, shoo-shooed a little bit ago, but I loved when you were talking about on the pod how the spinning chair maneuver kind of screws Marvel in some ways, because there's not a single person you guys have announced that you can cut from the movie, because not all of those are cameos. Some of those are going to be substantial roles, but some of them are cameos, and sometimes things just don't work. And there is not one of those that you can cut or people will riot because you announced it. And not only did you announce it, but you announced it a year and a half in advance. So people get excited, they theorize, they wonder if that's your favorite character, where are they going to be? So of course, now knowing or hearing that we think Hulk's going to be in this movie, you're feeling one of two ways. If you're excited about this, then you have now so long to feel excited. And if you're not excited, you have some time to get used to it. So I just think that for no reason should Hulk not be in the movie now. I know that's not totally fair to them, because it's not like this was a full-blown announcement.
Right.
But I think that would be a really big mistake. How do you feel?
I feel like the cool movie news answer is to say, I just want Spider-Man to be on his own. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I've said that. I've been here on this exact podcast and said that. There's something about the utilization of Hulk that I personally think would be cool. I thought about it, and I can't recall a single scene where Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, and Tom Holland interacted with each other. I know they were at like Tony Stark's funeral, but
Coy's sitting somewhere screaming at us if we're wrong about that.
I don't think they have I don't think they have a single scene together. They're both in Infinity War, but I don't think they've ever actually interacted with one another.
And what do you think their interaction? Do you feel positive about what they would interact like?
I've intentionally avoided what other people have said about it because I don't want to just repeat. And at the same time, I'm like, I'm sure whatever I have to theorize, other people have. I'm sure I have no unique theory. So there's a couple of ways where I feel like they can do it. One is you can do it thematically because there's a lot of similarities with them. They both got powers in an accident. They're both like outsiders. They're both afraid of their own power. There's like a thematic dialogue to be had from it. They both really want help, and they both save the world, but they're both kind of feared. Hulk more so. They fight alone a lot, and they really battle with their own emotions. A lot of this could be like applied to any superhero, but I think for them, there's a surprising amount of similarities. And the other part is Peter is very much a scientist, and of course Bruce Banner is a really big scientist as well. So
And science is cool, man.
science is the shit,
Yeah.
dude. It's overlooked. Science is everything. And, you know, in Brand New Day, early on, one of the big villains is Mr. Negative. And Mr. Negative, I don't really know how to explain his energy powers, but I know he can manipulate the mind. I know he can, like, help control the mind. So one part of me goes, maybe it could be a plot where Bruce Banner, who has now been, you know, fun Professor Hulk, Mr. Negative can mess with his mind and create a savage Hulk that he maybe thinks he can control, so he can have the thing where you have to stop the Hulk, and then it leads to some type of team up. It could just be you have Bruce Banner in there and he's calling on him for some type of scientific help in order to defeat a Mr. Negative, like assuming Mr. Negative is in this movie. I feel like that's a common theory because it's Brand New Day and it makes sense to have him in there.
Of course.
But if a first thought of hearing he's in it, I'm not dismayed by it. I'm more curious as like, how does this work? Because I thought the Hulk had like the weirdest rights, and that's why we can't really make a solo movie of the Hulk. So how would he be in a Sony movie? So that's where my question arises of how legit is this rumor? Because it seems like there's a lot of parameters it would be up against for something like this.
That's an interesting point. I think that just speaking creatively and artistically and less about the rights for a second, I don't really care to see just a blatant team up movie with the two of them.
That'd be boring.
We've been there, done that.
Yeah, it'd be boring.
And it doesn't really make sense. But also, we've done so much to get Hulk to where he is that I don't want this movie to end and Hulk's the villain of the movie. Like, it just, that also doesn't work. So I kind of think that we only have one option left, which is them at odds and them together. Now, how we get Bruce to completely lose control of his powers again, that part's kind of interesting to me. I don't know exactly how we're going to do that. And also, of course, Spider-Man cares about him. So he's not going to be willing to hurt him, even if he feels like he has lost control. So there's a lot of really fun, interesting dynamics. And it sounds like it could be a movie that I'm emotionally invested in if we have him in there. And it doesn't just sound like some kind of fanfic or we wanted to throw in another character. Let's throw a dart at the wall. Okay, Hulk.
Yeah.
I think there's merit to it. And I would love to see a little bit of She-Hulk.
Yeah, me too. I would.
Why are you laughing at me?
I know. I'm just laughing because we did the patron warm-ups and you said, well, we're going to talk about She-Hulk. And I was like, I don't know when that's going to come up. And now
this is
like,
why. Because
yeah, I'm like, okay, now this makes sense.
I'm not saying She-Hulk should be the main girly in this. I don't think that she's going to, I think it would be a major supporting role. But
sure.
Anywhere that is Bruce could be, of course, Tatiana Maslany, could be She-Hulk, and anytime that possibly Peter Parker is having issues, Spidey's having issues, getting him back or whatever it is, what do? You bring in family. You try to ground somebody. Or you bring in people with similar powers to you. You bring in lovers. You bring in, just people that make you go back to who you are. And so she would be one option of somebody for Bruce that we could bring in that might be able to, and we've seen Bruce help her so much in the show. Maybe she might be able to help him a little bit here.
That's true. Well, the last time we saw Hulk was in that show, and he had his son Scar show up.
Yes.
Which was like funny. But I'm like, would they resolve any of that in this Spider-Man movie? I highly doubt it.
Oh, that would be wild, huh?
Well, I think the thing that fans, I don't think I know, the thing that fans have really been wanting is they miss kind of Savage Hulk. They miss the brutal Hulk.
But forever to end the movie with that, we want to end with him being Savage Hulk?
I mean, it could be ending in. I don't. The last thing I want is a Spider-Man movie to be setting up the Hulk movie. I'm not really like interested in that. But depending on what they do, it's like you might have to in some capacities set him up. But if they were to go down that path where they do allow him to be Savage Hulk and he's on the run again, afraid from the government, and he wants to hide and remove this instead of being at peace with it. One might see it as a backtrack, or it could be the ultimate setup for finally getting the World War Hulk movie that people have wanted. And neither Tom Holland or Mark Ruffalo were on the Avengers Doomsday chairs, right?
Is that true?
I don't think they were.
I don't think so. I'll double check though.
I know Tom Holland wasn't, but I don't think Mark Ruffalo was.
No.
And this is going to be coming before Doomsday. That kind of makes for it's probably some setup that they'll end with Secret Wars then.
I remember Tom Holland definitely not being there because people were talking about it. I don't remember about Mark Ruffalo.
Neither of them is on it.
Oh.
And if Mr. Negative is involved, I mean, part of his power set is corruption.
Yeah.
Literally, inverting people's morality. So that'd be an easy inroad to
Bruce.
To Bruce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's a lot you can play with psychologically. There's a lot of ways where you remove Spider-Man and you only pair up Mr. Negative and Hulk. That would be an interesting movie, but Mr. Negative is more of a Spider-Man villain. And the last thing I'll say is I would love it because I think watching Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland play off each other as actors would be such a good time. I think Tom Holland is kind of an overlooked actor. He's done a lot of things outside of Spider-Man, and usually the conversation is he's not able to get something off the ground as successful if it's not Spider-Man. And yeah, that might be true to an extent. That doesn't mean he's a bad actor, though. I think he's a really great actor. And Mark Ruffalo, over the years, has shown a more fun side to Mark Ruffalo, and him having fun with because the last time we saw Mark Ruffalo really bouncing off another scientist was with like Tony Stark.
Right.
And it would be cool to see him like kind of mentor in the science field, which would be very Spider-Man.
I didn't know that Tom Holland being a bad actor was up for debate. I thought everybody liked him. I haven't heard.
I think I just said that. I don't know if it's a thing.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I think that both of them are really talented, and they are both kind of silly.
Yeah.
And so watching their performances would be a lot of fun. And also, you just mentioned that the last time that we saw Mark Ruffalo bounce science stuff off. Science stuff, all the science nerd stuff.
Well, Shuri and Tony, yeah.
But yeah, and speaking of Tony, obviously this is similar to Peter. So they both kind of are missing their person.
Oh, and with Robert Downey as Doom coming in and what that would do psychologically to the two who are not in Doomsday.
Well, we don't know that they're not in.
That's true. We don't know. I feel like more like 100% that will be in Secret Wars. Somehow I think it does elevate and set something up because a lot of the people with the super close connection to Tony Stark, a lot of them are not really listed in Doomsday, right? I don't feel like that's the case. Like you have Chris Hemsworth as Thor, which we will talk about, something he said. But outside of him, most of the closest ones to Tony.
You're just talking about the announcement, the people who've been announced in the chairs.
Yeah, the 50 people out of like 50 people. I'm pretty sure only a couple of them were really close with Tony Stark.
That's interesting.
Yes.
To save that till later. I don't know what the Chris Hemsworth thing you keep referencing is.
Well, what a segue. Chris Hemsworth.
What happened?
Well, he put out a statement. Some statement that has people speculating. He said, playing Thor has been one of the greatest honors of my life. For the last 15 years, I've held Mjolnir. Oh, God, I suck at pronouncing that. I get so self-conscious.
Mjolnir.
I say it so fast because I'm like, maybe if I say it fast enough, people won't notice.
Just do the hand motion.
Mjolnir.
Exactly.
And
No,
then
that made it better.
And then Stormbreaker is the god of thunder, but what made it truly special was sharing it with all of you. Your passion, your cheers, and your love for this character have meant everything to me. Thank you for making my journey through the MCU unforgettable. Next up, Doomsday. So
Where was that statement?
I think it was on his Instagram. And there was like a video that went up about Thor that I did not watch. It was really the statement that's been taken off. And of course, the main thing that arises is people saying, is this him saying goodbye in advance? Which I think would be weirdly bizarre. It could be a clever PR thing to be like, hey, if we do this, people will think maybe Thor dies in this movie. So we have to, like, let's watch it. I could see it as a way to drum up some interesting hype because this reads like a goodbye. This totally reads like he's saying goodbye to the role. But I'm like, why would he even hint at that if he was actually going to die?
You would have to, after that, you would get a phone call from Marvel, Disney, your agent, your manager, every person you know. If this was you saying goodbye, if this was a real goodbye, this is you saying, I'm done after Doomsday because either my character dies or I have decided to not sign my contract, whatever reason, goodbye, and I'm going to do that now, all this time in advance, you would get slaughtered. So
1,000%.
I feel like there's no way that that's what's going on here. It is kind of cute and clever that he's doing this, if it is just kind of about getting people talking, because I will say I haven't heard his name in a hot second. So maybe he was just like, hello, I'm still here.
I
Thank
miss
you,
being
guys.
relevant. Look at me.
Like, you know, he's more relevant than I'll ever be on his least relevant day. But I'm just saying, I think it's kind of cute that he was just like, hi, fans. Much love. Here I am.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I loved him in the Extraction movie, but yeah, I don't really hear too much from him. There's an interesting comment that did come in from Shield Vids that said, if Thor dies in battle defending TVA Loki during Avengers Doomsday, or God of Stories Loki, it would be sad, but there would be an opportunity, because Chris Hemsworth did say he wants to do Thor 5 and make it more serious, an opportunity for Thor 5 to take place in Valhalla. That way he can see Jane, his friends, his mother, and most importantly, Loki again. I don't mind this pitch at all. I think that people have talked about John Wick 5. Like, what if it's John Wick battling to get out of hell? And we haven't done an MCU thing where we've teased it. Moon Knight was the closest to having a full-blown plot that takes place in an afterlife. And yes, Black Panther has dealt with afterlife, but not a full-blown plot. So what Shield Vids is proposing here for a Thor 5 to take place in Valhalla after the setup in Thor Love and Thunder, I think would be an actually really unique direction that could be a reflective period. It would line up with reflective Chris Hemsworth about his Thor time. It would be a cool way to wrap up the character. I don't mind this pitch at all, and I could see it being that's plausible to me.
I totally hear you and agree with what you're saying, but do you think that what Chris Hemsworth just had to say is relevant to that?
I think it can be. I feel like, imagine what Shield Vids is saying in this is that Chris Hemsworth preemptively is saying goodbye, but it's kind of a fake out.
Yes.
Because you'll get a Thor 5 of Thor in the afterlife, and you're like, oh, I thought Chris Hemsworth was done, and now we're getting this. I think that would be a really smart way to do it. I don't know why Chris Hemsworth was doing it. John, can you ask artificial intelligence?
Call Chris.
Yeah.
Let me get Christopher on the horn real quick.
Ask Ultron if this is what's really happening right
This is
now.
It's
kind
just
of-
to get them to be desperate enough to greenlight the George Miller movie.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
That's the honestly, I know you're making a joke, but the only other thing I could think of that actors do sometimes is negotiating tactics. Their team will have them put something out so that a studio or company might get scared and try to pay them more money because they realize that they're really willing to step away or walk away.
Yeah.
So that's the only other thing. Does it sound like that's what's going on here to me? No. But is he negotiating a Thor 5 and they're maybe not giving him what he wants? And he was like, all right, just saying goodbye to everybody, so that all the comments would flood in like, we're not ready to have you leave. And then Marvel's like, fine, take all the money.
Yeah.
It's possible, I guess.
Well, out of the original Avengers, Hulk aside, who has not had a solo Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie, it's only Chris Hemsworth who's still around of the OG Avengers, right? I'm doing it in my head. Yeah, I think that's correct. So he does have negotiating power, and he's the first name announced in the chair lineup. So it wouldn't be unwise of him to do a little bit of public negotiation right
Just
now.
to show the people that I'm so loved. Look how loved I am.
Yeah. It's just taking it off. It's got people speculating, especially when it sounds like a goodbye thing. But I totally agree with your point about this would be he would be getting kind of crucified by a lot of his team right now if this is his way of like breaking some rule of teasing what's going to happen.
Crazy. That'd be crazy.
And it could just be the phrasing. He might have just wanted to say like, hey, I'm feeling sentimental.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Because it's his social media. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But because he's doing it, people are
So it
reacting.
was a post on his Instagram, like a square post with words. Let me
It
look
was
at
a social
this.
media post, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to go find this and see what the comments are, because if it is just like that, I am curious if every single comment is we love you, no, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I've seen some of the check marks saying, their theories and why. Yeah, it could be a real positive.
I believe the origin of this, he posted a thank you, the Legacy of Thor video on his YouTube channel, and that's the caption, essentially, is this message here.
Oh, on YouTube.
That
Okay.
makes
Yeah,
more
so
sense.
there's like a reel of Thor throughout the years and some behind the scenes stuff, him talking to the camera.
Or maybe it's a tease to set up Thor 5, which I don't feel like they should announce. I
mean,
think they should announce
I didn't
that.
know he had a YouTube channel.
On
Yeah, he does.
Chris Hemsworth,
Yeah.
310K subscribers.
it's a pretty-
We have more subs than Chris Hemsworth.
How do you feel
And-
about the fact that you started a channel that has 1.35 million subs and Chris motherfrickin' Hemsworth has 300,000 subs? You more than triple him. You more than quadruple him.
It sounds to me like when he was asked the question of do you care more about subscribers or abs, he went with abs.
He said abs.
He said abs.
You said subs.
Yeah. You messed up, Hemsworth.
A man can have both.
A man can't. Anyway, what do you guys think about these Chris Hemsworth comments? Does it read as something to be suspicious of? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, peeps. Reject Nation, you ever look back and realize how little you actually learned about money growing up? For me, like many of you, it was always start investing when you're young. No one ever told me how. And honestly, for the longest time, I was too overwhelmed to even try. And that's why I'm grateful. A, grateful because I already use this product. And B, I'm grateful because we're sponsored by them today. Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you have right now, even if all that is some spare change. Best part, you don't need to be an expert, thank God. Acorns recommends a diverse portfolio that can help you weather all of the market's ups and downs. You guys have heard me talk about Acorns before, and that's because to this day I still use it. I'm an investor. I'm fancy. And for me, it takes the pressure off. I wasn't suddenly going to try to learn everything about the whole stock market. I was just taking small, consistent steps. And over time, those steps added up. One of our team members, won't say who, but they once used their Acorns money to get them out of a financial emergency. That stuck with me. So you can sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. You can head to acorns.com/rejects or download the Acorns app to get started. Once again, it's acorns.com/rejects or download the app. And since we're dealing with money, it's probably best that I do say. An endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisor LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/rejects. Thank you again, Acorns. All right. The juicy one I'm excited to get to here. Harry Potter casting. Yay. Yay, Harry Potter casting.
Is that how you feel?
Woo! Yay! I'm just buying time while I pull up this question. Here it is. Gabriel at Patreon. This is going to just be a way to help set us up for some things to explore. And I feel like Roxy probably has some cool opinions about this.
I don't know if you're going to think that afterwards.
First order of business. We got the three main characters cast. Don't be douchebags to them. They're children. Be nice. Gabriel says, do you think the race swap of both Hermione and Snape in the upcoming Harry Potter HBO series will bring problematic issues with some storylines? I personally don't give a damn about swapping race nationality, but I find it odd that so far it was done pretty much just for those two characters. He elaborates. Snape getting bullied might add an unwanted perception that his ethnicity is one of the reasons why James and company are picking on him constantly. I think the only way to make it not about it is if they also cast a non-white actor as Lupin. Obviously can't be Sirius. Would be too on the nose. I think they're changing it from Sirius Black to Sirius White, right, John? I'm just joking.
I was like, whoa, really?
I started giggling and then I was like, no.
Serious cis white man.
Serious cis white male. Can't be Pettigrew. Considering it would be iffy to swap race for a character that despicable could seem targeted. That's interesting. And as for Hermione, being bullied as a mudblood takes a whole new dimension. Does it? I never thought about that. And so is a quest to free the house elves from slavery in the 4th book. Oh, damn. That's a plot that was left out of the movie. But that could actually work better. What do you guys think? Roxy. What is, what's the first thing that's coming to mind for you? I want you to be so honest.
Okay. Because you might never invite me back on.
Yeah. I don't like honesty. So let's try this.
If you care.
I care.
If you care that Hermione was cast as somebody who may not be white 100%, you are a loser.
Okay.
You're a loser. Like, there is so much to care about in the world. I don't understand how people spend their time on this. And let's be clear, this is not a race swap. Nowhere in the Harry Potter books do they call Hermione a white girl. They say she has brown, frizzy hair. So in the play, Hermione is black. In the movie, Hermione is white. And in this new show, Hermione is, we don't even know. We don't even know what race she is, which is why race is so stupid in the first place, because people online are making fun of her for being too white, too black, too Hispanic, too Asian. We don't even know her race because she's slightly brown. Now everybody just thinks they can guess what she is and who she is. Are you the biggest loser on the planet that this is how you're spending your time? This is not to the person who sent in the question. They were respectful and they bring in points about plot, about calling somebody a mudblood that a lot of people online are talking about right now. And I understand why. But if you care that Hermione is not 100% white, I think you are out of your mind, the most privileged person I've ever met, if that's what your biggest problem is. That's crazy. Get a life. Get a life. This is a child. She's so cute. The whole cast is so cute. They're kids. What's wrong with people? What is wrong with you? This race swap. Said who? Not even J.K. Rowling, TERF herself, cares about this. Not even J.K. J.K. was like, I didn't describe her as white. I'm sure there were little girls who grew up reading the Harry Potter books who didn't think she was white because she was not called white. And usually we picture some version of ourselves, the closest to. Race swap? From what? The movie that was based off the IP where it didn't say that? You idiots. That's how I feel. I want to shake the internet so hard. Why is this your problem? Leave her alone and let this little tan girl whose race we don't even know just do a great job because she out-auditioned 10,000 girls. 10,000 girls auditioned for this and she was the best. What is your problem? That's how I feel about this story. Greg, how do you feel?
I want your opinion on Kanye West now.
Well, he's no longer an anti-Semite, so he's no longer my problem.
I actually have a tweet here for you guys.
And I know. I don't mean to get that dramatic, but it's just like, what is wrong with these grown-ass adults who are upset that she's like, what? What's your real problem here?
What? There's I feel like the word woke and has been weaponized and has been breeded down into a whole variety of different subsections. If there's even the slightest different change in race from what we're used to, people outrage. And there's also a side of the internet, people who host videos, create videos, who see a lot of these things as golden opportunities to make a shit ton of money, and has fed into this crowd that can totally feed off of something that people probably don't give a shit about. And it's an adaptation. So the first thing that people had heard a while ago is that Severus Snape is going to be played by a black actor. And then this casting with Hermione, which honestly I didn't even notice that she wasn't white here.
We don't even know if she. We don't know.
I don't know. She doesn't look like something distractingly different to me. Yeah. Like, okay. When I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, I'll be totally honest. I did not know they cast a black person to play Hermione. And it takes a couple seconds to wrap your head around it when you're like, oh yeah, I like, this guy looks like Daniel Radcliffe, and I've been hanging out with him in this play. Oh, Hermione's here. Oh, I didn't know that was Hermione. That's a black actress. I would love to be the cool guy who's like instant switch. I immediately adjusted. It took me like a couple minutes to adjust to it.
Because she didn't look like Emma Watson?
No, because that's my only perception that I have of Hermione, you know, and especially when you have someone who looks like Daniel Radcliffe, who was in the play, at least in the version that I was watching
Totally.
at the time. But I'm going to be there for a couple hours. I can take a couple minutes to readjust, and then I'm past it. And then I'm not seeing it anymore. I don't think about it anymore.
Because she was good?
Yeah, because she's good. And I enjoyed what they did with her character there. Likewise here, I think, when it comes to adaptations, like the reality is a lot, when people are saying like, hey, they do this like this in the comics, so it should be this way. I'm like, not most people who watch comic book movies, who like comic book movies, probably don't enjoy reading comics. They probably, not I'm saying they don't read them, I'm saying they probably don't even enjoy it. Likewise for people with Harry Potter. Most people who've seen the Harry Potter movies, I would venture to guess most people did not read the books. Most people only have an association with the movies. And we have this nostalgia thing where we want to, I think what people want is for people to reflect the casting of the movies that they grew up on instead. So when they try to use like the book as a reference, I feel like a lot of people are like actually really researching to be like, where can they, so I could have it in my defense that Snape shouldn't be a black guy. Let me just try to, because I'm like, I'm sure they don't fucking remember this off the top of their head as an impression that was made to them.
Yes, on page 47 of book 4, where whatever. I know what you mean.
They don't. They're just looking for something, because I think anger and rage is an easy thing to latch onto, and yeah, it's really not a big deal. And here's the truth too. If it adds additional subtext, like what Gabriel was talking about, like, good, it's more interesting to me. To me, I'm like, it's a more interesting show then. I think the conversation about like the subtext and race stuff can be an interesting conversation to be had. I watched the Fantastic Beasts movies recently, and they seemed a little bit shy of, I mean, maybe you'll remember them, John. I think they're shied away from the gay stuff in there. They had Dumbledore and Grindelwald, who had this former love relationship, and I feel like they really shied away from the homosexuality in that film. And I'm like, well, go full gay if you got gay people in this show. Might as well just really lean into it and go all out. So I'm of that camp that goes, hey, if it lends itself to having something a little bit more interesting as opposed to just a longer version of what we already got in the movies, I say do it. I say have fun. Because movies are so fucking huge that you might as well do something a little different.
Yeah. Speaking of doing something a little bit different, Greg, one time you and Tara were talking about like, things you wanted to see from the show. And you guys were talking about wanting to see more Quidditch.
Yeah.
And this is the cool thing about doing a show. This is why, of all the mediums, television is my jam. Because you get to actually explore character more, and you get to have things that weren't even in the book, things that definitely weren't in the movie, more character development. And like you're talking about, I think that you need to be able to have many layers with your characters when they're television characters, especially for a show that's going to last years long and have dozens of episodes. So do I think that it kind of makes sense for her to be ethnically ambiguous and being called a mudblood and wondering and having people question her ability to do magic while also questioning her ability to fit in a school that is predominantly white. I think that's interesting. And I think that's relatable to a lot of different people. I don't think that makes the story worse. And I also don't think it takes away from the original story. I think it's true to the story while adding layers to it. So I just can't imagine a world in which I care about this. If the show sucks, then it sucks. And if it's poorly done, then it's poorly done. And if race becomes an element of the plot and that's not well done, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if the best actors for the job get the job and then they do a great job and the show is great, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? And I totally understand what you were talking about earlier, taking a second to adjust. That happens with anything that's different than how we picture things in our imagination and our mind, whether it's because you read the book or even, you talked to Coy about this before, and I've talked about this too as a comic book reader. When you read somebody's name one way for your entire life, and then suddenly that character is in a movie and their name is pronounced different than you've been reading it. And it takes a second to adjust because you're like, that's not how I read it. That's what? You're out here saying Falcone and I'm saying Falcone.
Yeah.
What? Which one of us is? And so sometimes it takes a second, but then if it goes away because we get new experiences and have new imagination. So I just wish this wasn't even a conversation. I can't believe that it is. And especially around a child who just got the opportunity of a lifetime. This will be life-changing for these kids and hopefully in a positive way, especially after Emma Watson had the absolute worst experience ever. I don't know if you remember any of this. What happened with her?
I mean, I watched the reunion. It seemed like she had there was a point where she wanted to quit. She had a hard time around the 5th movie.
Sorry, on set she had a great experience, but just like as a young woman in the industry, and like turning 18,
wild.
people trying to upskirt her, sexualizing her. She was put through the ringer after being a child, and I just think, for lack of better words, I know people hate this phrase now, but like, do better, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what? And we still don't even know what her race is. That's the most hysterical part of it all. She could come out tomorrow and say, I'm white. I'm actually white. I went to the beach, bro. Like, this is crazy.
I mean, when I saw the Harry Potter movies, I couldn't help but notice, like, oh, look, there's like a couple black people here. Hey, there's 1 to 2 Asian people here. But they're in London. Like, it's very ethnically diverse out there. Why not make it more ethnically diverse? I think that's okay. I know people are scared of talking about that in a positive way. People, for some reason, are like, when we talk about diversity casting, a lot of the time it's either people are outraged or we go, it shouldn't matter. And I'm like, well, sometimes I think it does matter. Sometimes I think it's a really good thing to do it, to show that it doesn't matter that they're not white and that it could still be as effective, and that you can give a black person, an Asian person, some actual main supporting roles or leading roles. I think that's an important thing. And, I'm Filipino. I rarely hear Filipinos about Filipinos being upset about not being represented and stuff. And part of me, when I'm watching these movies, I'm like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool if, like, what if they put a Filipino person in, like, I'll see like actors who I find out are Filipino, but I don't often see them playing a specific Filipino character.
So fair.
Like Dave Bautista is a Filipino, Haley Steinfeld, Filipino. And they play a lot of characters, but I've never seen them play specifically a Filipino character. You never hear me bitch about it. I never complain about it. But would I like to see more? Like, yeah, when I think about it, yeah, it actually would be pretty cool to see more Filipinos playing actual Filipino people in the movies, And so I think that's why I was saying, if the race is a part of the story, I think it's better. John and I really enjoy, and this is where a lot of people will probably not agree with us, we enjoy Ncuti Gatwa as the new Doctor in Doctor Who, first black Doctor. And whenever they decide to actually do an episode that leans into the fact that he's black, I think it works so much better.
That's the guy from Sex Education that I love.
Yeah. I think it works a lot better. I mean, you were asking about Captain America: Brave New World earlier, and I'm like, yeah, I think in the show it works really well because they lean into the fact that he's going to be Black Captain America, a Black Captain America, and what does that mean? Whereas the movie shies away from that conversation, and I'm like, no, but Falcon and Winter Soldier is great because part of that they lean into it. So I say, fucking lean into it. Don't be chicken shit, and don't be scared about some camp of people being upset. And
I totally understand. I think that's completely fair. And also would make for better art and better experiences for the audience. Mm-hmm. I do think that there are roles that are white roles that don't make sense for somebody who's not white to play. And there are roles that are played by Black people that wouldn't make sense for somebody who's not Black to play. And there are roles for Asian people and for Latino people. There are roles for people that don't make sense if it's not that specific role. If your race has to do with your character, this isn't that.
No.
Hermione is not that.
No.
So why are we talking about it? It's not relevant to her character, and to be a young Black girl at a school where most people are not, then it becomes relevant and it does become part of her story. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but just there's nothing about this character that has to be white.
No. I agree, and I think I didn't expect to be such a champion of this in this conversation, but it got me thinking about one weird thing. I remember learning the name James Wan, knowing that name for so many years before I ever heard him speak. And then I hear him speak, and he has an Australian accent. And I'm not used to seeing Asian people with an Australian accent. So it was like, whoa, that's kind of like fucking weird. But come to find out, there's a bunch of Asian people in Australia. And so I think represent it because it's normal. That's the thing. It's fucking normal.
Yes.
And so we don't have to be preachy about anything, but it's not abnormal.
It's representative of our world.
Yeah, I think it's more relative. It's more relatable. Because it's actually a normal thing, and to have a British accent, it's a nationality that they have. It's not a race thing that for Hermione. And yeah, I saw the image too, and I didn't even question if she was white or not.
And I think to this moment, John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've made an announcement about her race.
No.
I don't think we have any kind of awareness, and so watching people online get pissed, speculating like, oh, this Asian girl, and then the same, like across the aisle, is like, oh, this Black girl, and it's like, you guys don't even know who you're mad at.
What really angers me is the immeasurable insensitivity that people have to come on, how fucking stupid are you? How after all this time do you realize like, hey, maybe bullying a child is like not a smart thing to do,
Bullying any person simply because of the color of their skin, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Bullying a child.
Yeah.
I think she's 8.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's why I know I'm going to get more heat for this than anything on the internet I've done all year. But if you care about this, if this is your hill to die on, you are a fucking loser.
Absolutely. I agree.
Grow up. Get some real problems. And leave this poor young child alone.
Leave the children alone.
Leave the children alone.
Jesus Christ.
Don't watch the show. Go ahead.
Just leave them alone.
She's 11.
She's 11. She's 11.
Arabella Stanton is 11, and the top autofill after I type her name is Arabella Stanton ethnicity. So people are trying to figure this out. She started Matilda, the stage show.
That's another thing. So I couldn't even get to this because
there's another white character canonically.
I couldn't even get to this part because of how annoying the internet was. But the casting directors on this have an amazing track record. There are 2 casting directors on this, have cast a lot of things. One of them actually did cast the Matilda musical, so that she probably had seen her in the actual musical, and that might have been how she was aware of what's her name?
Arabella Stanton.
Arabella Stanton. So that's interesting. But John, if you can find the 2 casting directors, IMDb, they have cast things that you and I and everybody loves. And so I think it's really important when we don't have any information about these actors, because Arabella's the only one who's really been in anything, and I haven't seen Matilda the musical. So to look at the casting directors, because those are the people that we're trusting, and they have annihilated across the board. It's 2 women. Sometimes they work together. Sometimes they do different projects. And whenever he has it, he can share
It's
what
Lucy
they are.
Bevan and what is it, Emily Brockman are the
All right.
two. And I see Barbie on here. The Batman. We got the Batman.
Oh, so they made Commissioner Gordon black.
That's right. They're out here.
Sons of bitches.
We got Venom in there.
It's usually with women too, where it could be a little bit harder. And I guess I mean, people were upset about Snape, but no one seemed mad about Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, the Snape issues that people seem to have specifically about like his dynamics at work, I don't know as much about, and also people villainizing a character who ends up being good and him being black at first. I only read the first couple books and I saw the movies years ago. So I would have to recall if there's any merit to any of the hate, but the Hermione one,
Yeah.
go away.
No. I think in the show, James will just be bullying him because he's being a bully. Or he'll say like something about black people when he's bullying him, which would be an interesting moment in time.
Huh.
And I'll be like, great, I'm doing a reaction. How do I handle this?
Sweating.
Anyway,
Am I ever invited back on the podcast again? Oy vey.
you're honest. I'd rather be around an honest person than someone who's saying talking points that they feel they need to recycle. So thanks for being honest.
You're welcome.
We're going to have a totally different conversation when the camera's not. I hope you know this.
And you'll never see me again.
Never put me in that position again.
How fucking awkward that was. No, that was fun.
Yeah, and it can be. You mentioned talking about race can get really awkward, especially because I'm a white girl. So like here I am on my soapbox, but like I have the privilege of being on, and a lot of people don't.
Jewish girl.
That is true.
Too.
That is true.
And Jews don't exactly have it super easy.
And you keep trying to make Magneto not Jewish.
That's
I'm
what I
ready to
keep-
talk to you about this, Greg. You're trying to take my guy.
What do you guys think? Should Magneto be played by Denzel Washington? Leave your thoughts down below.
A really kind Magneto who's a great representation for Jews.
There's one last thing I wanted to get in here, and then we gotta
is it?
wrap it up. Just a couple Last of Us ones since you're here.
Yeah.
So I was looking at analytics. Your reaction alone to what happens. Spoilers, everyone, to Jesse in that has undoubtedly caused the video to be super shared. The actual YouTube video is like significantly shared.
My 3 words.
It's the first one that it will actually surpass that I believe will surpass the viewership of the Gamers React, and that's a fucking large feat because like that's uploaded 12 hours later.
Yeah.
And it's gonna pass, which is like a great sign. That's awesome.
John knows because he was with me every step of the way. I had like an insane love for Jesse.
Yeah. I remember you telling me about him. I'm like, she has no idea.
I'm so upset still. And I screamed.
Yeah, I saw. That was crazy.
I screamed.
Yeah, you were really mad.
But do you notice? I went back and watched, and John, I don't know if you noticed this at the time. I had a delayed reaction. I'm sitting there kind of quiet, and you and Tara are talking, and then about 15 seconds in, I scream, "Not effing Jesse!"
Yeah.
And it was like a full 15 seconds after it happened where I just couldn't process it.
The beauty of a reaction video.
It was
The beauty
wildly
of a
late.
reaction video.
You guys are having a whole conversation, and I just like interrupt with my guttural yell.
So I'm sure a question like this was asked, but I just wanted to kind of get as a non-gamer.
Yeah.
Tristan Mayer 5373 says, Last of Us viewership fell off over the course of the season. Do you think people will still come back next year, especially after what could be a 2-year gap? I feel like people who are non-gamers will come back out of morbid curiosity to see like what's going on here. Like,
Do you think more non-gamers will come back than gamers?
I think gamers will come back because there's stuff that happens that I'm sure we like. I don't want to spoil or tease anything, but there's stuff that happens that I'm like, yeah, I want to see this get brought to life.
Okay.
There's just certain scenes and moments that or type of infected that I'm like, oh, this would be really cool to see in live action. And with Abby's story, I want to see it done. And like without saying anything in the game, I love Abby. I really do. I didn't at first because of who she is, but then what they're going to be adapting because of that story, I fell in love with Abby. So yeah, I'm
more than Ellie.
No. Ellie's my favorite video game character of all time. Nothing can match Ellie. But when I read this, I didn't even consider this, and I've heard it talked about. I'm like, yeah, maybe. I imagine that it'll probably dip quite a bit. Actually, I don't think it'll be as strong as season 2. I imagine it'll be a case where like the first episode people tune in for, and then after that it'll dwindle. But I think they gotta. This season 2, their first episode was not a banger the way the episode 2 was. I think their first episode needs to be a banger to really hook people in.
And is there merit to that in the video games? Is there something they could do to come back that would be a banger?
Yeah, they skip over. They reorganize and they skip over stuff. And yeah, I think they could skip to some stuff. Yeah.
I was kind of surprised because this is one of the first times that I'm not reading the comments because you didn't want things to get spoiled for me. And even when I was reviewing it on other channels or my channel, I wouldn't read any of the comments because I didn't want anything to get spoiled. So I was unaware that people were not happy with this season. I was completely unaware until the end of the season.
Me too, honestly.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And after we wrapped the season and I started going through things, and then I did actually a poll on my personal Instagram, what was the better second season, Andor or The Last of Us? It was only then when people started messaging me that I found out how much people hated this season of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. Even though they tortured me personally with their choices, a personal attack on my guy, Young Mazzino, the love of my life. Even though they did that, I thought it was an excellent show. I liked this season 2 better than I liked Andor. I thought that Andor had the number 1 episode of Andor, which was episode 8, and the number 1 episode of The Last of Us, which was episode 6. I think those are very comparable. They go tit for tat with how brilliant those 2 episodes were. Mm-hmm. But in general, the first 6 episodes of Andor were pretty lackluster to me. And it wasn't until the back half that we picked up. As opposed to The Last of Us, which when there were dips, they were consistently throughout the season. But for the most part, I thought that it was brilliant. People didn't seem to like the writing. They didn't like the choices that were made. They didn't like the casting.
Bella Ramsey seems to be the main thing.
Bella Ramsey, people had huge issues with. I don't have anything to compare. And so I think that they are doing an unbelievable job. So I was shocked. I had no idea. I thought that this was going to be on a lot of people's best of the year list.
No.
It seems like it's not. So of course I think that it's going to dip next year. I don't even think people stayed for the end of this year. So that's a big bummer to me because I love the show.
It's a very different buy-in for a show than a video game, 1,000%.
Can you explain why?
Well, when I bought the game, I had a feeling Joel might die.
Game 1?
No, game 2.
Okay.
I had a feeling he might die because of, like, it leaked. And and I
had a feeling because
I didn't
read,
but no, it was like because you could hear how people were talking about stuff.
Oh,
I didn't hear something direct, but it was like it sounds like Joel's gonna die. I didn't know he would die so early in the game, and when it happened, and I've said this before, like you don't have any context as to why. So I thought it was like manipulative as shit, and I hated it when it happened in the game. Absolutely hated it, but I paid like $60 for this game. So I'm like, I'm going to keep playing. I'm here. And it took me like a couple hours to get to this point where Joel, I'm not just going to quit.
Of course.
It's the same thing when you switch to playing as Abby. I'm not just going to quit because I've fucking been here for like 12 hours. I'm not going to quit.
Wait, so at what point were you back in? Because I know the second game is your favorite game of...
Pretty early on because Ellie, I love the depiction of Ellie in the game, and I think the game does a really good job at what game 1 does is it makes you play as Joel, and then by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh wait, maybe Joel's not a badass action hero because of what he does at to the Fireflies. Then maybe this is more of up to debate, and that's why I love Pedro's depiction, because Pedro, by the end of season 1, you're like, something's correct in this guy, something's wrong with this guy, and he really leans into that. And in the game, the journey is just so cool. The gameplay is great, but I really latch on to Ellie's. I really latch on to Ellie in the game, and they did eliminate one of my favorite levels in the game where she is like slaughtering a bunch of people. But I feel like it does drive the character forward more. It is one of those things where the action
That would have already happened.
Yeah, for sure they skipped over it. 1,000% it's done. But I think the violence in the game actually propels the character forward in a down the descent that she's going down.
In the game, her first death on purpose, the first kill that she has is not to the pregnant girl, to Mel.
No, she's killed a shit ton of people before then. Well, she kills Nora.
Yeah, but I meant innocent person, the baby, like the person who didn't do anything.
There's not a real scene out of killings. Like, there's a couple people where like they didn't really do anything wrong, but she kills them.
But
because
the slaughter, was it everybody did something wrong, or
they were
some
all
of them?
WLF. So
They're all.
because
Is that not pronounced wolf?
Yeah. No, they're called the Wolves, but WLF. They're Washington Liberation Front. That's it.
But that's what wolf, WLF.
I never considered that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, as the game progresses, I actually lost my train of thought.
Because I threw you off with wolves. Just was trying to figure out if the first innocent person that she killed in the game was also the baby inside of Mel.
I mean, the thing you have to remember is that it's a game, so you're going to kill a shit ton of people along the way.
I'm not a gamer, so I don't know. So you kill a lot of innocent people.
You kill a lot of
Boom, boom, boom.
WLF people, and then you fight some Seraphites too. So because it's gameplay, you know, your numbers really stack up. But in terms of making a moment out of innocent deaths, Mel in the game is the most prevalent one of, wow, you just... But in the game, it's more of a struggle. Like, Mel tries to actually attack her, and then she stabs her in the stomach.
But Mel's still pregnant.
Mel's still pregnant and dies, and it is that
And
scene.
Owen's still there?
Yeah, no one died. Yeah, that scene is a haunting moment in the game. In the game, it hits in a different way.
Do you know she's pregnant in the game?
No, you don't know who Mel is.
Mel wasn't there for the death of...
Because she was in the room, but the game does two distinct perspectives. Like, it's only in Ellie's point of view, so you never cut to anyone else's point of view, ever.
But did you see Ellie see Mel?
No. She stabs her, and then after the coat comes off or something, she sees she's pregnant.
Okay.
But yeah,
I want to watch it's called cutscenes when it's gonna get. I want to watch those one day.
Yeah, it's really cool. But anyway, to answer the question, I do think there'll be a drop in viewership for sure.
Yes, me too.
I think they got to have the most amazing trailer, and it's a really hard sell. It's a super hard sell.
Oh, I'm excited for it. I wish other people were too.
I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because we're dealing with online people.
Yeah.
And in the online space, you're like, it's easy to just only see the negative comments. Like when I go on YouTube reviewers or some Twitter reviews, I would assume everyone hates Mission Impossible, the last one. But then it got an amazing cinema score, and it's certified fresh at 80% or 79%, which is still pretty good on Rotten Tomatoes. So no, not everyone hates the last Mission Impossible. In fact, most people seem to like it quite a bit.
Most people.
Yeah, but on YouTube, you know, a lot of the reviewers were not nice about it, and a lot of the Twitter stuff was not nice about it. So I was under the impression that maybe a lot of people wouldn't, but the numbers say something entirely different.
But I think this person was saying that the viewership dropped.
It did drop, yeah.
So
I don't know by how much. I don't really know the numbers, but yeah, I mean, you lose your leading guy, your main character. It makes sense to me, and especially if it's so divisive with what Bella Ramsey's doing. Like, some people love what they're doing, other people don't.
Maybe they really upped Tommy's role.
They did. They upped.
No, I'm saying in the next season.
That is a possibility. It would be a good possibility.
Is Tommy going to die based off what you just said? Did he just get shot?
No, I'm saying that.
Oh my God, Abby shot him?
No, it's Abby's. The game isn't. The story is in Abby's perspective.
I said maybe we up Tommy. And,
I'm saying I don't think we're gonna even see Tommy in the next season.
You want to know what somebody tweeted at me just to really upset me? They said, "Don't worry, you'll see Tommy again when we flip to. You'll see Jesse again." When we flip to Abby's perspective of killing him. God damn it. That's when I'm going to see him again.
The creators have been out here saying that, you haven't seen the last of a lot of dead people.
Yeah.
So, and I do have some viewer numbers. If you
Sure,
need them.
we'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah, 55% drop from season 1 finale to season 2 finale. You went from season 1 finale with 8.2 million. Season 2 finale, you had 3.7. And that's also a 30% drop from the season 2 premiere to the season 2 finale. The premiere had 5.3 million, and then we ended on 3.7.
Well, a lot of people who love the first, you gotta understand the game in the game community. It was an uproar. A lot of people hated the game. Was more. I'll be totally frank. It's the game was way more divisive than what is happening on the show.
Wow.
This might seem. I guess that's why I'm not like
surprised.
I'm not too involved in the conversation about it because I'm like, oh yeah, we went through this with the game and it was so much worse with the game. It was so much worse. So to see what's happening right now sucks. But it's not a surprise, and there's a lot of people who loved the first game who wanted to watch the first season who did not want to watch the second season because they're adapting a game that they don't agree with. Yeah.
Man.
But then I do see some people who love the game who don't like the show. So, it's all fair opinions depending on who you're talking to. I don't know. Guys, should Hermione be black? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.
Is Hermione even black?
What is Hermione? Can you guys drop some theories down below on what her blood is? Anyway, so yeah. Will you be tuning in for The Last of Us? Tell us. Roxy, thank you for your time here.
Thanks for having me. First and last time, right?
No. It's so late in the video. It's fine. It started off with Marvel. This can't fucking real.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, Roxy. Well, we shot some warm-up questions to end off the video. Thank you. Follow her. Follow our social media where she's killing it nonstop. And you're going to go watch Carrie with Coy right now, right?
I can't believe that. I've never seen it, and neither has he. I'm stoked on this.
I'll say nothing.
Oh.
Because I notice when I say anything, it somehow affects your viewing. I've noticed, and then somehow I'll see comments that blame me for your viewing experience. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna say anything.
Well, you know what you said to me before the most recent one.
What'd you watch? What do you mean?
28 days later.
Oh yeah, what did I say?
You were leaving the room and you came back in and you said, "Just so you know, this is a very serious movie."
Is it? I don't remember it.
That just affected
it's
my.
pretty serious.
It's
pretty dark.
It was, but it definitely affected my viewing experience. I was like, okay, I know we're getting into something serious, so that was good.
So it helped your viewing experience?
Yeah, you said it affects it. Affect doesn't mean bad.
I thought it was a negative. I was like, oh shit, what did I do now?
No, you said it was really serious, and it was really serious.
I feel like I'm the worst at communicating to you about because with most people here, I'll be like, yeah, I'll try to like kind of prime them a little bit of what to sort of anticipate without spoiling shit. But then I notice like if I do that with you, I am like setting you up for a warped perception of what it actually is.
I'm a very literal person.
I know
everyone
you are.
knows, but
Yeah.
but that one was right. It was really serious. That movie was amazing.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Nobody told me.
Well, that's why they have this sequel that people are so jazzed about.
I didn't know there's a 28 weeks later.
Yeah, most people don't talk about that one, but 28 years later, people are really high for it.
I'm on people.
Yeah. All right, patron cues. All right, got a couple here that I chose ones that I feel like are very specifically Roxy, considering what the questions are. Mike Joyce, I'm sure you know this name.
Yeah, I love him.
You two have really ramped up the channel's social media. How do you come up with ideas and what goes into creating a post? You've also mentioned doing more on the channel in the future. What kind of things are you thinking of doing? Well, first off, I will say that it's mainly Roxy coming up with the stuff.
You're
Figuring
very
all out.
helpful.
I'm helpful.
You are. And especially at first,
but not anymore.
No, just because I don't need the same kind of support that I did at the beginning, where it was like a whole new world, a social experiment that is going okay. Because when you're real reject social media girl, you have to force everybody to film, and no one wants to hang out with you anymore.
A whole new world. Anyway, Roxy, how do you come up with these ideas? Do you know how you come up with ideas?
Yeah, I spend so many. If you open my phone right now and we looked at my usage, you would see that I spend 10 hours a day on Instagram. And
10 hours a day.
Yeah, I gotta find ideas.
Jeez.
I spent a long time looking and on TikTok, searching, and I actually have a lot of new trends that I want to try. And it's also about killing your babies. That didn't work. So we can't do that again. Like, you know how obsessed with making the listicles I was, and I loved being inclusive of everybody and getting everybody's answers on a question like, what's the scariest movie of all time? Cut, every person in the company. Those weren't performing for us. Even though I like them best, I have to look at it and be like, these aren't performing. We got to do better. And then you have to come up with new idea.
Yeah. I think mine that we gave up was I liked having like a personal movie question, and those just were not taken
I
off.
still like those too. And I still have one of those in the bank of yours that I'm going to post, but they weren't performing the same way. Even Andrew's story about finding his mom, that was like the craziest one.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch it, go find the social post.
I mean, that was a point that was weird where we were trying to grow it, and then it was getting a lot of shares, but for some reason it wasn't getting a lot of views. And like, it wasn't lining up.
You know what's getting a ton of views right now?
The shrinking video?
Yeah, we just hit 430,000 on one of them.
Really? Which one?
250,000 on another. The 400. Oh, yay, Greg. The one you edited, the 451 that I gave notes on. I think my notes were pretty good. Your edit was great.
They were good. No, I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, God, I'm way over my head on this one.
The Harrison Ford panel one that you filmed that I edited, that one has a couple 100,000 also. Even just the swipe, the carousel of the photos of us, that one has like 90,000. They're doing well.
All right, here's the two social ideas I have for July.
Uh-oh.
First one, reject photo shoot. Greg's doing 6-pack photo shoot day.
Yep.
Dehydration. It's time to get this going, baby.
I did clip out you showing Coy the photo of your abs on this. And
they're so much more defined
I
now.
do have intentions on showing that one day to the people on social.
I think July, it's going to be a good time.
July what? Because that's a big birthday month for us. You can't be like the July guy. We all are born in July, so July can't be about you.
We're going to do whatever I want to do.
When in July are you thinking?
I can take a day out to do a photo shoot.
No, you can't. You can't.
And then, I don't know. And the other one is...
Make it end of June or August.
I thought we could do... I want to figure out some type of skydiving thing.
Well, I think that would be so much fun, and I'm dying to go skydiving also. Are you thinking that because you're hang gliding situation?
I'm thinking of it because of Superman.
The skydiving? Because you can fly?
Yeah, you put it together. You're the one who said we should do things that tie
awesome.
into movies.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Well, the enthusiasm wasn't there.
No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you what actually just happened. What you saw on my face was that, like, so expensive per person. We're not going to be able to do it with everybody in the company.
I'll go.
And then I was thinking Greg's going to go, and that's just not as fun as a group activity. Like
it's fun for me.
I pitched mini golf for Happy Gilmore, and I can't even get approval on that. So how are we going to all go skydiving?
We can go mini golfing. That's easy. That's like $10 a ticket, $15 a ticket. $20 a ticket.
That it's like a few bucks. It's like $7 for a putter.
I'm so glad this was your response when I pitched it to you.
This is mini golf's a little boring. There's so many of us. Have you been mini golfing? It's so boring.
Yes, I've been mini golfing.
Oh my God, it always starts off fun and then it gets so dull.
John, mini golf dull?
You know, it really depends on what kind of thrill you're looking for, because a lot of mini golf is attached to an arcade, and arcades are very instant gratification, whereas mini golf is like a long game. Like, you got to really all enjoy carrying on, and if you're just focused on the game, I could see how that might not be the most thrilling evening.
All right, let me pitch you more expensive ideas then. Why don't we hire a trainer to train us with actual golf, and we all work on our swing?
What are we doing golf for?
Happy Gilmore.
Is this worth doing it for Happy Gilmore? Is it big enough to warrant?
It's not about that.
doing-
It's just about tying things in. Like you're pitching me skydiving.
I know. I'm thinking big.
There's 8 of us. And there's no way Olivia's not going to come. There's 9 of us.
Yeah. That makes sense. It'll be fun.
That's like $5,000.
What about indoor skydiving?
I think that's still pretty expensive.
We need to look into the budget. We'll talk to Alex. Thanks, Mike Joyce, for the first question. I don't want to reveal yet what the other stuff are in the chat. All right. This
You're not
next
going to
one.
reveal anything? Wow.
Well, we're doing a little bit more of those rewatches, which are more commentary pieces that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, that is cool.
And we're getting an office, so we're going to have way more wiggle room.
You told the people that?
Yeah, I'm mentioning it now. Now I'm mentioning it. Kevin Meek,
Also love.
he's saying, okay, this is a long one.
Let's go, Kevin.
Greg, man, you're looking solid. That's what I like to hear. I can see the work. Hope you're feeling as strong as you look. I'm actually quite lethargic these days. Roxy, it's been cool catching up on the live streams. Hoping Grammy's Achilles is healing up and that you're getting some rest. You are kicking ass. John, if you're back there, hope you're doing well. Never change, man. Never grow. Never grow.
Never
Last time Roxy...
Did he
Never
write
stop
never
it.
grow?
Last time Roxy was on, you mentioned Boy Meets World. That show was a big one for me, too, and reminded me of the time I jacked about 80% of Sean's speech from Corey and Topanga's wedding for my best friend's wedding. It was a hit. Not a dry eye in the house. Though I'm not advocating plagiarism, I was put on the spot, and that's what came to mind. Question.
Yeah.
Have you ever borrowed or learned something from a movie or show that you used in real life?
Yeah. Yeah. I have. It's not the most flattering thing to say.
Oh my God, what is it? Let's hear it.
Okay. When I was in college and we had to do monologues and I didn't know that I was going to have to be doing a monologue. They probably told me. I probably forgot because I was probably drunk because I was in college. And my friend and I, this is before Kanye West was an anti-Semite known, okay? Just I want everybody to rewind for a second. Picture 2010. And we recited Family Business as a monologue and hoped to not get caught. This is family business. This is for the family
That's
that
fucking
can't be
cool.
with us. This is.
That's smart.
I'm not going to keep going
That's
because
smart, though.
yeah. So I guess that is plagiarism. We
Did anyone catch
no,
on?
No, we did not get caught.
Damn, brilliant.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Kanye has said he's not an anti-Semite
He did
anymore.
say that.
Yeah,
he called
gave
his
up
kids.
anti-Semitism
He's
a couple days ago.
Yeah,
I read that to my Grammy. She was just like, "It doesn't work like that, Kanye." I was like, "You
Does for
tell him.
Kanye.
You tell him.
Anything works in Kanye's world. He had a second question. You guys have any live events coming up?
You didn't answer the first one.
I don't think I have an answer for.
All right, I took it on for both of us.
Actually borrowing something. I can't think of something where I've like borrowed and that I've applied in real life.
Smoking.
I mean, yeah, I used to see like Ryan Gosling smoking, and I think that's when I was like, I want to pick up cigarettes. I think that's when I picked up cigarettes as a lesson to that. Oh, I learned how to listen. I've talked about it from Ryan Gosling of like the eye contact that I used to do. The fucking just like stoics, just make eye contact, don't think about it.
So that's
unbreakable.
a one win for Ryan Gosling, one L. He made you start
They're both
smoking.
wins.
Oh,
They're both.
yes.
I tried bisexuality because of Tom Hardy's quote.
What was the quote?
I'm an artist. I experimented. And I was like, okay, I want to be an artist. And I was like, yep, this ain't for me.
You heard it here first. Greg plagiarized bisexualism.
It's like, it wasn't for me. In the end, it wasn't.
Good,
The way-
you gave it a full season's worth of a shot.
Yeah, I was like, all right, yeah.
John rolled his eyes so heavy at both of us during that interaction. I get it, John. That was deserved.
I've been sweating all day for some reason. It's like I haven't stopped sweating.
Ew.
Summer's
Shut
upon
up.
us.
So
Get out on the mini
gross.
golf course.
What an instant reaction.
Also, correction, it's $12 for an adult to mini golf, or $15 if you want to do it all day.
But what about skydiving?
50 to 90.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Skydiving is $50?
Well, for the iFly,
Oh.
for the
But-
indoor skydiving.
and if we go to like West Covina instead for mini golf, just to make Roxy's trip extra long, it would be like $5.
Yeah, probably even cheaper.
And gas money.
A real skydiving trip would be about $200 to $300 a person.
Right.
Right. All right, cool.
Even 90 a person.
All right. we got one more here. Then we're going to hop into the actual show, but this will be the ending of the video. Thomas Doherty, what TV show or movie that might not be the best, but is a guilty pleasure that you will defend no matter what would it be? Personally, for Thomas, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What is yours?
I don't understand the question if his answer is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I know. I mean, like Buffy's a beloved show, so I'm like, it's like personally friends, you know.
That's an excellent show. I guess my closest to that, because I think of reality TV, my favorite reality TV show is Love on the Spectrum. I think it is just the most, like, not just a bad show that I love. I think it's actually the most beautiful, inspiring, like incredible show that people kind of write off because it's just like it's a dating show. It's not a dating competition show, but it is a dating show in reality. And I think people are like, oh, trash TV, but it's so beautiful and gives me hope on relationships, which most reality dating shows do not do. So I love that one. What's yours?
She-Hulk.
I love She-Hulk too, man.
I like She-Hulk.
Yeah,
quite
people
a bit.
hated that show.
I know, and I think it's so much fun.
It was so great.
The ones that I see, like the finale gets a lot of crap, and I'm like,
I like that.
I like the finale. I thought it was a blast. I think it's really fun, and I can acknowledge the shortcomings. I can absolutely acknowledge the shortcomings, but you know, criticism flaws are different than the feeling of enjoyability. And I think the show gave me a lot of enjoyability.
I agree. We talked about her during this episode. You don't know it yet, but we did.
Tatiana Maslany?
Yeah, She-Hulk. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised I remembered her name.
Why?
Because that's the only thing I know her from, and I'm not.
You didn't watch Orphan Black?
Nah. But I am rewatching Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I like that one a lot. You don't feel the same
I
way.
love it.
It's my favorite of
I did
other
not
than She-Hulk.
love it. I feel like my maturity and understanding in life was maybe not at the point it needed to be. And plus, I was really caught up in like tying into the MCU. And this is after WandaVision. But watching it, I watched Black Widow again. And then I watched, because I'm gearing up to the Thunderbolts reaction. So I'm getting my homework done. And rewatching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's like so much about mental health. Like it's interesting to hear that be the feedback of Thunderbolts, and then I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier already did it. Everyone's going through it.
Did it change your opinion on Cap 4?
What it did was it highlighted the flaws of Cap 4 for me even more.
Okay.
Like there's this one scene that I'm like, this is definitively the scene of when I think Sam Wilson proves he's Captain America.
What is it?
So there's the quote unquote revolutionist or terrorist, depending on the perspective of the Flag Smasher character, Carly. And everyone's there, John Walker, Bucky, and they're all like, all right, we got to go get her. Sam's like, no, let me just talk to her. I can talk to her. I can connect with her. I can identify with her. We don't have to go down this path. And then he has this beautiful scene where you have John Walker, the idea of the guy who gets thrusted into power of being Captain America, who wants to just go in there and create damage and you know, fulfill his insecurity and kick some ass. And then you got the other person, Sam, who is actually demonstrating the skills of connecting and showing that you don't have to resort to violence and that you can find a way to identify and understand. Like, that's Captain America right there.
And you felt like you didn't get that in the movie.
No, I think the movie like kind of chickened out a lot on a lot. In fact, I feel like this, Isaiah Bradley, it highlights what I feel like this. Because Falcon and Winter Soldier has a perspective. Falcon and Winter Soldier on every single character. Like, I think it works better as a binge than a week to week. Because it does feel like they divided up a big story into 6 episodes. And watching it as a binge, you see all these connective threads. And I think the show like really exemplified why he becomes Captain. I feel like it is a necessary part of the journey for Sam Wilson of what it means for a black man to take on the shield of Captain America. And I think it's my favorite of Bucky, undoubtedly. I haven't seen Thunderbolts, but I wasn't in love with Bucky in the movies.
I don't think that Thunderbolts is going to take the cake for Bucky for you.
Yeah, I love him in the show.
Yeah, he's
love him in the show.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So yeah, I don't recall loving the show this much because it was so much about like connecting MCU and MCU hype, and it was sandwiched between WandaVision and Loki. But as a drama and going for the more realistic one, I love it. I think it's an incredible show.
I agree. I love that show.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thanks, patrons. Thank you. We call them Royal Rejects now. We changed it.
Oh.
Royal Rejects for patrons.
You're no longer sexy.
Yeah, why aren't they sexy anymore?
I mean, they are still sexy.
What happened to
Royalty
them?
is sexy. All of UK royalty is sexy. And then t-shirt people are righteous
You
rejects.
have strong opinions on the Royals?
Oh, I know everything. Their names. Righteous Rejects are the shirt
Name
people.
5 of them.
I don't need to prove anything to you. Okay.
Name 2 of them?
I don't need to prove jack to you. I am secure.
Jack.
I can name some royalty. How
The
about
video-
Kevin Meek?
The video's over.
How about every other patron?
How about
who has
Thomas
contributed-
Doherty and Mike Joyce,
Mike
baby?
Joyce. There you go.
Thanks for the questions, you royal rejects. And t-shirt people are righteous rejects, and the ones in person are radical rejects. Come on, that's cool, right? They're all alliterations.
Maybe just rad rejects.
Let's make a passport so everyone can get it stamped. Like if you become a royal reject, you get a stamp. If you become a righteous reject, get a T-shirt, you get a stamp.
And if you go to the UK and you meet the royals, you meet.
Then you get your passport stamp.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. All right. Thanks, guys. Leave your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you all soon.